I wanted to give just like an update and give reasons why I've kind of stopped talking about the disease, why I've kind of stopped answering questions about my vision. So I don't know, I had a whole bunch of like really weird feelings about that doctor's appointment, which is why I think I didn't really share it with anybody, because I was feeling like my vision was changing. And she looked at me and she said, no, that they would never study food because it's the pharmaceutical companies that pay for it, and the pharmaceutical companies aren't gonna make money off of food. 2 or 3 weeks after I got my implants out, I had went back for another appointment, and they had gotten the pathology reports back. The capsules are what your implants sit in. It's basically like, I guess, the scar tissue that your body builds around the implants. They showed that I had chronic inflammation in my in the capsules.
My name is Jordan, and for the last 9 years, I've been living for what many might have looked like a dream. I was a real estate broker in one of the fastest growing cities of America, but for some reason could just never quite find happiness. After being diagnosed with a rare, incurable eye disease that oftentimes leads to blindness, I decided now more than ever is a time for me to follow my true dreams, which is to see the world. So I packed up my bags, packed up my home, and bought a one-way ticket across the world. During my solo travels, I rediscovered a new meaning for life and found that there was hope for me to heal my own body. I'm so excited that you're joining me on this journey as I rediscover me and find that this diagnosis was the best thing that ever happened to me.
So, So, hi everyone. I felt called to do a little bit of a health update. I just got off a call. I've started doing like mindset wellness coaching, seeing how I've had a complete life change over the past year, which some of you guys have been watching, but I felt like this was kind of like the perfect timing for me to do a little health update. It's been a year this week that I posted on social media that I had been, that I found out that I had lost more than half of my vision from a disease that doctors say is incurable and untreatable. And so I was kind of looking back over the past year when I initially posted that and told all of my followers and a whole bunch of strangers across the world about this diagnosis that I had received. And when I started looking back over this past year and how much has changed in the last 365 days, I was so emotional. When I posted that video last year, I really don't know why I did that. All I can remember is that I was doing these acupuncture appointments every day for 2 hours a day for 10 days straight, because it was some treatment that somebody had told my mom about that they had heard would help people with the disease that I had been diagnosed with. So I was very stressed out, basically doing like last option type things, trying to figure out what I was going to do to save my vision. And when I posted that video last year telling everybody about what was going on with me, I think it was just one of those things that I was like, you know what, everything in my life is like seemingly falling to the drain, and I'm just gonna share it. I'm just gonna share it. And I don't even know why I did that. I think I just I don't know, I just was having a real vulnerable, raw moment. And since I shared about my journey that I was on, still going through, so much has changed. And it really, that video, I feel like really projected me into really holding myself accountable by following what I needed, what the world was telling me, what the universe was telling me to do. And I initially was not going to speak about my vision again, and I'll go into why later, but I was not going to speak about it again But I just got off of a call with somebody who he has recently been diagnosed with RP. And although so many people have been asking me about like how my vision's doing, and I kind of keep putting it off and saying like, saying whatever I've been saying, I just kind of today had like a real like kind of awakening moment when I was talking to this gentleman that I was speaking with tonight who has been diagnosed with RP. And it just made me realize that like I should do an update about my vision, just because there are other people that are dealing with the same or different diagnoses, shocking, like trying to process information. And I just felt like, you know, it was worth to open up this book one last time and just kind of give some feedback on the way that everything has changed for me. So there. So last year, when I posted the video about me being diagnosed or learning about like the progression of my vision loss from the disease Retinitis Pigmentosa, I did not have, there was no hope for me at that point anymore, because the doctors had told me that there was nothing that they could do. It was incurable, it was untreatable. There was no way for them to determine how quickly or how slowly I would lose my vision. So I kind of just was like at a loss, and I decided that I was going to go to Thailand because I wanted to be present, and I wanted to experience things that I had never, that I may not be able to experience like in my near future. So when I went to Thailand, I met a lot of people, and a lot of people knew about what was going on with my vision for various different reasons. And I kept meeting people that were telling me about all these different circumstances that they had cured incurable diseases, not necessarily the disease that I had been diagnosed with, but that they had cured stuff that was deemed incurable. And there was a couple different ways that kept coming up that like people I was talking to kept telling me that's how they did it. So I started working with a coach out in Thailand that basically I would say opened my eyes to just so many different amazing things. And I had a complete lifestyle change. So the lifestyle change led me down deciding to get my breast implants taken out, which that's what I did about 3 months ago, was had my breast implants removed. And since for the past 9 months, I've been down a complete lifestyle health change. And I don't call it a diet. It's a lifestyle change. I'm a different person now. I have a completely different body makeup, different outlook on life. And with that, I have a complete different outlook about this thing that I had been diagnosed with and that I shared about last year. So even though I had decided that I was not going to speak about retinitis pigmentosa or speak about my vision anymore, because I now view my body as a whole body and not just having different pieces of my body, not just my eyes, not just my mental health, not just my skin, nothing. Like I just now view my entire body as a whole body, and that's how I treat it. And I do believe that pretty much everything that humans experience, any type of dis-ease that humans experience, can be healed, and in a lot of cases reversed. That is my personal belief. So I decided that I wasn't going to speak about my vision again with that mindset. Also because I had decided that there's a lot of studies and there's a lot of books that you can read, like Joe Dispenza books and all of that, that talk about like once someone gets diagnosed with something, their symptoms and the progression of the disease increase dramatically than people that have the same disease that never even know that they have it. So I had also told myself that with that thought process that I was going to stop telling myself that there was something wrong with me. And I was going to stop identifying with the fact that somebody told me that I had retinitis pigmentosa. So with that, I actually removed myself from all of the Facebook groups that I had been in, all of the support groups, anybody that identified with having low vision or blindness or anything of the sort. I decided to completely like disassociate myself from, only because I wanted to focus on my personal journey and not really worry about what other people's progression of their journeys or their lives looked like, because I realized that like my journey is totally different. The way that I live my life, my mindset, my practices are totally different than the next person, and I didn't need to compare my journey to anyone. So I had removed myself from all of those groups, and I just stopped identifying with the fact that I had anything wrong with me. So I'm still of that mindset. I still think that it's super important to have that, but I wanted to give just like an update and give reasons why I've kind of stopped talking about the disease, why I've kind of stopped answering questions about my vision. But I just felt like it was important to explain that piece, because after having the call that I had today, with the gentleman, that he recently was diagnosed, and is probably in the place that I was at last year, which was being very scared, very confused, and just trying to sort through all those emotions. I figured that for the people that have been following my journey that maybe have also been diagnosed with any sort of disease, may also want to kind of know that piece, and also may want like an update on my lifestyle change, and all of that. So, okay. So about 9 months ago, I had an entire lifestyle change. I also, about 11 months ago, also had like an entire mindset change. So overall, I've totally changed as a person, and I see life completely different. With my lifestyle change, I will say that I just started to see stuff so differently. There was a point back in January or February that I happened to be on one of the Facebook groups still that was like for the disease that I had been diagnosed with. And I saw somebody post on there that they had been misdiagnosed, and they were misdiagnosed with another disease that apparently mimics the same symptoms of the disease that I had been diagnosed with. And apparently their disease was very hard to diagnose, and oftentimes is misdiagnosed for the disease that I had been diagnosed with. So I did a ton of research that night, stayed up all night, and just started thinking about everything. And I was like, you know what, like they call it medicine for a reason, and people get misdiagnosed all the time. And what are the chances that I don't even have the disease that I've been diagnosed with? What if I have something totally different? I mean, those types of things have happened to people in my family where they've been diagnosed with something and then treated for something else, and then it didn't end well. So I just started to realize, like, I don't even know if I think that I have this disease that they say that I have. I could have something totally different. So basically all I need to do is just focus on getting my body as healthy as possible. So with getting my body as healthy as possible, I had already been on a huge lifestyle change, detox regimen, fasting regimen, but I needed to get my breast implants taken out. So I went through the journey over like 3 to 4 months of trying to find a doctor to get the implants out. Went through that process, got the implants out in April. Even though I never thought that I had breast implant illness symptoms, I feel like I don't know if it's like the physical weight of the implants being out of my body or if it's just that I'm so happy that they're gone, but I am just like, I just feel so amazing. I have been having a lot of detox like symptoms. Like, as you can probably see, my skin has been worse since I got my implants out than it's ever been in my life. But I definitely think that it's just my body naturally detoxing out this stuff that was not supposed to be in it in the first place. But overall, I just feel amazing. I feel, I just feel amazing. So let me actually rewind. So before I got my implants out, I actually was feeling like my vision was changing, and I felt like I wasn't tripping over stuff like at all. I felt like I wasn't even noticing like the flickering that I had normally been noticing. I wasn't noticing that it was taking my eyes a really long time to adjust to different like lightings, like going in from brightness to darkness or darkness to brightness. Like, I just started to notice that my vision seemed like it was changing for the better when I started like this whole lifestyle change and working with the coach that I was working with. So I decided to go back and get my eyes rechecked, because I was just like, even though I know that it really doesn't matter if my vision has changed or not changed, I guess a piece of my ego just kind of wanted to know if my sacrifices and my determination to heal my body did anything. So I did go back and I did get my vision rechecked, and I will say that when I went last year, my vision had doubled in vision loss within a 2-year span. So when I went back this year to go get it rechecked, if it would have continued on the same progression that it had been on, I would have lost another fourth of my vision, which would mean a year after that, like a year from now, I would have just been completely blind. So anyway, so when I went back to go get my vision rechecked this year, and it had been a year later, essentially my vision hadn't really changed at all. And it was a really interesting feeling, because as I'm sitting there getting this test done, I'm looking at the woman that did my vision test the year before, and she, it's all starting to click in my mind. Like, she's doing all of these different things, manipulating with the computer and with the testing and trying to like interpret like different lines, and like, because with the test that they do, they have to like pinpoint different pin drops and then move lines. Like, they manually move the lines in order to determine the different vision loss. So as I'm watching her do this, I'm realizing that I'm like, this is kind of like a test that's manually being done, and it's not necessarily just like a snapshot of anything. Like, she is the person doing it. So if somebody else were to come in and do this test could be totally different than what she's interpreting. So I started to like process that in my mind at the appointment, that I'm like, I don't even know how I feel about this test right now. And like the test that they did last year, like what does that test even mean? Like, is it possible that like the test that was done last year was not even 100% accurate? Like, how is it really ever even accurate? Because we don't know, because somebody's interpreting it and interpreting it their own opinion of it. So anyway, so yeah, I'm at this appointment. She's doing her interpretation of the test. She's telling me, yeah, like your eyes look like there's really been like no progression since last year. And I'm like looking at her like, well, that's weird, because last year it had doubled in vision loss within 2 years. And I don't know, it's just like a really weird feeling, because although I like had hoped that like I had reversed some of my vision loss, because I felt like for sure my vision had been better, I also was looking, and I'm like, part of me was like, wow, like it hasn't really changed at all. And if it was going to continue at the same rate that it had been before, I would have like already almost been blind at that point. So it was a really weird doctor's appointment, and I felt very like strange about all of it. I had even told her that I felt like my vision had gotten better. And she told me that she was like, well, you know, sometimes your brain starts to overcompensate, or your eye starts to overcompensate for your vision loss, and you're starting to able to see things that you aren't really able to see, but your brain's overcompensating, which was a weird thing too for me to think about, because I'm like, okay, well, if I feel like my vision's better, then does it really matter if it's like the placebo effect, like my brain thinks that it's better, but it's not really better? Like, what does it matter? So I don't know. I had a whole bunch of like really weird feelings about that doctor's appointment, which is why I think I didn't really share it with anybody, because I just was like happy that my vision hadn't progressed any further. It seems as if like I have like stopped the progression at this point. Granted, it's only been a year, but also I felt really like indifferent about the fact that this person that was doing the test for me, about her, like it's her own interpretation of it, and her skill at it too. So that was kind of weird. And then also a thing that was weird too for me that I realized is that at that appointment, I asked her, I said, you know, I've had like a complete lifestyle change. You know, you guys have always told me that I should eat fish oils and dark green leafy vegetables in order to preserve my vision. And she was like, yeah, no, that there are studies about that. And I was like, okay, well, you guys are always talking to me about these clinical trials and about all these different things that I could possibly try to get into, like these experimental things I could possibly try to get into, like research things. And I told her, I was like, so has there been any research about like food and the correlation between your vision and food, and if it can help reverse or stop progression or anything at all? And she looked at me and she said, well, no, you know, all the pharmaceutical companies are the companies that fund these clinical trials and these research things. So no, they would never study food, because it's the pharmaceutical companies that pay for it, and the pharmaceutical companies aren't going to make money off of food. So that was also a real, like, I don't want to say kick to the stomach, but it was kind of just like a win for me in my head too, that I'm like, wow, like what I feel is right. Like they're not doing research about like living a healthy lifestyle. They're not doing research about how food can possibly stop the progression or reverse vision loss, or really like most diseases in general. So I just kind of felt like, after feeling really confused about her interpretation of the test, about the results of the test really showing that there hadn't been much progression, even though like if it kept with the same speed of progression as last year, it should have already been like a fourth additionally gone. And then with her saying that about the how they will never do studies about like food and all of that, like it really was very obvious to me that the path that I was on about focusing on healing my body as a whole and healing it naturally with things that are here on this earth and that have been used for thousands of years to heal lots of different things. Like I really realized at that point that I needed to stop identifying with having a specific dis-ease. I needed to start pouring my energy into just living the healthiest lifestyle possible and having the best mindset as possible, and stop identifying with anything that's wrong with me, that someone says someone's opinion is wrong with me. So yeah, so there was that follow-up appointment. That's like the update on my vision and where I'm at, and what someone's interpretation in Dallas is. But as far as like my breast implants go, so I got my breast implants out in April. I think I mentioned I had not had any symptoms of breast implant illness, but I just had gone down this health journey with my vision and trying to get as healthy as possible. And I just decided the implants needed to go because they were a foreign object that didn't need to be there. So when I got my implants out recovery, all of that was like a breeze. And I know that it was so easy because probably the placement of my implants, because they were over my muscle and I did not get a lift. And also because my body had been on this healing journey since December. So for 5 months, I had been like in this super heavy detox healing journey already. So my body, I think, was just like a marathon healer at this point. So got my implants out. About 2 or 3 weeks after I got my implants out, I had went back for another appointment, and they had gotten the pathology reports back about my capsules, which the capsules are what, for those of you that are not familiar with implants and this whole process, the capsules are what your implants sit in. It's basically like, I guess, the scar tissue that your body builds around the implants. So pathology came back. I had no signs of any kind of cancer, which was great news considering my implants had been recalled for causing cancer. But also they showed that I had chronic inflammation in my in the capsules. So I had asked my doctor, does everybody have this chronic inflammation when you get the pathology back? And he told me no. He said that he had been doing this type of work for 10 years, that he had been removing implants, not that he was a plastic surgeon for the last 10 years, but he'd been removing implants for 10 years. And he said at